It's a little terrifying because you absolutely cannot miss.
Goalies now are completely at a premium.
Not, right? Like, Canada doesn't have a ton of great options.
What up? What up? This is the Big Show, the Hockey News' Big Show. I'm Michael Traikos. With me, as always, is Ryan Kennedy, editor-in-chief of the Hockey News, and we're pleased to welcome former NHL goalie, now heading up the Dubnyk Development Mentorship Program, Devan Dubnyk. How you doing, Devan?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, pleased to have you on. Love talking goalies because, most interesting position in my mind in hockey. And you retired, not too long ago, 2022, after 12 seasons in the NHL, playing for everyone from Edmonton, Nashville, Arizona, Minnesota, San Jose, and Colorado, and now giving back to the game in a big way with the Dubnyk Development. It is a year-round mentorship program. Let's kick things off by talking about the mentorship program, Devan. How did this start, and why did you want to come up with something like this?
A couple reasons, actually. This is the first year I started. I've been thinking about it for a while, and never really kind of got onto it. And I'm really excited that I started getting going with it now, and just spent the time kind of trying to think about what it would look like. It's a combination of things. A lot of the video side of it. I did a similar program to this when I was playing the last 6 years of my career with video review. The guy's name is Lyle Mast, and so I know it works. And so part of it was that I know it works. Wanting to work closely and personally with people, and not just doing a hockey school. I mean, there can be maybe that down the road. But just wanting to have a personal relationship and communication with a smaller group of people, and helping a little more intimately with the, not just seeing them for a week or a couple weeks in the summer and then, hey, have a good season. Really following it, kind of looking at it like a journey, and being able to help with that. And then having 3 boys of my own. My boys are 12, 9, and 7. And having the chance to coach them in youth hockey, and just the amount of enjoyment that you get out of coaching kids kind of through all age levels. I've set it to peewee and higher. And it's not that I love coaching the younger kids as well, but just for the concepts that I'm teaching. And then also the video review side of it, there's a certain age and attention span and stuff that kids need to have to kind of be able to get the most out of the program. And that's kind of why I set the age at peewee and higher. And it's kind of, it's all skill levels, but again, it has to be higher end goalies who are dedicated and committed. And that doesn't mean that I'm just looking for the best of the best. Just people who are committed to it, who want to put in the time and the effort and have a good attitude. And then again, just the idea is getting the clients 8 to 10 is what I'm kind of looking at. And just hopefully it's a continuation. It's a journey with them throughout, not just 1 year, but years going forward, and going through all the ups and downs of being a goalie. Nobody knows what it's like to be a goalie unless you've played. And so there are a lot of things that come along with the position that aren't just pushing and stopping and getting hit with pucks. And I feel like in youth hockey, and not only just in youth hockey, but all the way up, that gets lost a little bit in all of the things that go through a season. And myself personally, looking at my career, I feel like I'm pretty equipped to talk to people about handling ups and downs. I tell people I've gone through just about as many peaks and valleys as you could imagine, from the top of the top to the lowest of low, and navigating my way through it. And I want to be able to pass that on to a younger generation, and helping them deal with it and be the best goalie that they can be in whatever level that is. If it's the NHL, great. If it's college, if it's high school, if it's just making their Bantam team, these are the best years of their lives, and I want to get them to the highest place they can be, and also have them enjoy it in the process. So it's like I said, it's mainly video review. I have a local program in Minnesota here for kids who are nearby that can go on the ice, but it's still heavily video review, weekly video, full communication via text message or emails, again, to just be able to talk about if you got a big game coming up, if you're in a little bit of a lull, if things are going good, help them keep level, be a good teammate in the dressing room, learn how to get the most out of practice, both for goalie wise, but also being a good goalie teammate, being a good teammate in practice. All of these things are learned, and I think they can be taught. But a lot of times these goalies kind of get set aside and they don't really get the other sides of it. So that, and then obviously the on ice stuff is great for the people here in Minnesota. And I like doing that side of it, but and then also I can offer some technical side as well. I've seen a few good shooters in my day, so I can teach some kids how to stop pucks for sure.
Yeah. Right on. That's excellent. And you mentioned, the highs and lows that happen with being a goaltender and how much you saw during your career. I'm curious just about your path when you look back at it, starting off in the WHL, and then, turning pro. You spent some time in the ECHL. You obviously spent a lot of time in the NHL. When you look back at your path, what were some of the most sort of important benchmarks for you in getting you to the NHL and that role that you had for so many years?
That is a long story. So there's lots. And that's kind of when I talk about being able to navigate the ups and downs. I wouldn't change anything about my path. But I've kind of seen it all a little bit. Like you mentioned. So, started playing the WHL. Was kind of a high prospect there, and I was so happy that I took that path, and my time in Kamloops was amazing development wise, and getting to kind of learn how to be a starting goaltender, then playing all the games, also with the travel and stuff. Like you learn how to deal with it, how to take care of yourself, how to play maybe when you don't feel your best, or if you're tired, if you just got off an 8-hour bus ride and you get to strap them up and play a game. It's just the way it goes in the dub, and you learn how to deal with that as you go, and then being a first round pick to the NHL, everything looks great, and then there's a long way to go after that, obviously, and I knew at the time there was not a direct path there. There never was supposed to be. That was never in the plan. So I finished junior, and then started in the coast. Edmonton was the only team that didn't have an American League affiliate my first year pro, so there was nowhere for me to play. Edmonton tried to find me a place all the way up until the end, but being a goalie, obviously everybody has a good third goalie in the wings, and so they didn't want me to end up on someone else's team, and basically not be playing. So spent a full year in the coast, and then graduated to the American League the next couple years, and then made it into Edmonton. And I look at those years, those same thing, they kind of set me up. East Coast League gave me some kind of my first taste of pro. I got handed the reins down there, obviously, just to play and work through whatever. And then in the American League, started as a backup, kind of work my way through. And then, when you talk about benchmarks, I think the interesting thing is you want to get to the NHL as quick as you can. And it took me a while even to get, like, I remember that last year going in, it was getting a little frustrating because I hadn't even had a call up. I hadn't even had like a chance to sit on the bench, and it had been 3.5 years playing professional hockey. And I hadn't, not quite 3.5 because it was earlier in the year, but I was into my 4th season of professional playing in the minors, and hadn't had a chance to sit on the bench in an NHL game. And so anyway, that year, Javi Bulin hurts his back, and I go up, and still took me a long time to get in games, and I wasn't playing at all. But when I did get in, I didn't do very well, and we weren't a good team at all. But it was a big jump, obviously, big jump regardless, bigger jump when you're not a very good team. And but I look at that, and it was difficult, but it also gave me the opportunity to kind of work through and get accustomed to the NHL, because I look at it and I remember I struggled at the start. It took me 11 tries to get my first win. There's a funny story about that. Actually, I had a couple heartbreakers in a shootout that was close to getting my first win, And then my sister, we were playing Detroit that night, and my sister texted me and she said, "Hey, don't worry about the article. That like, don't think about that stuff." And I was like, "What article?" Like, I didn't know there was an article. And so anyway, they put this article out that I was like approaching the modern day record for most starts without a win. And I was like, "Oh God!" And I still had a little bit of a buffer. I think it was 16, and I was going on 11, and but a little too close for comfort. And so we're playing Detroit that night, and game's going well. Guys were playing well. We were 2-1. We were winning. I was feeling good, but it was a good game. But Detroit was Detroit. They Zetterberg, Datsuk, Lidstrom. I mean, they had all the dogs there still. And there's 10 seconds left in the third period. Puck goes in the corner, and Theo Peckham was a defenseman. He was a buddy of mine, and a young guy too. Call up, and I don't know what crossed his mind, but he thought that the play was to drop his stick and try to lay on the puck. Not sure who taught him that or where, but that was the choice he made. And sure enough, if you got Datsuk and Zetterberg digging in there, they're probably going to end up with the puck. And sure enough, dig it out and hit Brian Rafalski backdoor. They scored with 0.3 seconds left to tie the game. They had to go to review to see, because the green light went on and they had to go and across the line 0.3 seconds. So now this article pops in my head again after they tie the game. I'm like, oh, okay. Like if I drop this one, now we're only 4 away. And so I obviously just got going into overtime, just trying not to think about it. Ended up getting to a shootout and won in a shootout and got that one out of the way, and ended up going 4-2 in my last 6, and kind of teed myself up for a one-way backup job the next year with Habby when he was back. And the reason I look at that is like, I think it was, I can't remember the exact date, but Pat Quinn was a coach, Tom Reddy was the associate coach, and Tom was kind of the main communicator with us. And there was one point where they said, it was me and Jeff Delorier, who was also a prospect, and they said, "You guys are going to rotate games for the rest of the year. Doesn't matter how the game goes. It doesn't matter if you get a 60 save shutout or you get blown out. You're just rotating games." They wanted to see going into next season what they had and who was going to be the guy. And that doesn't happen in the NHL. And so that's why I kind of look at that as like, yeah, it was difficult to play on a struggling team, but in what world do you get an opportunity to just play in the NHL? Because NHL teams, the majority of them are competing. They're competing for a playoff spot. They're close. You have your handful of teams that are out of it that might be in that position. But I was given an opportunity to play. I think I played 19 games that year. And I got those games because we were so bad, and they were in a position to just say, "Hey, play and figure it out." And so it took me a while to figure it out, longer than I probably would have had on a good hockey team. Maybe I would have stopped more pucks on a good hockey team. Who knows? But it doesn't matter. The thing is, I was able to sort it out to the point where I got it figured out, and then was able to go 4-2 to finish that season off. And that kind of kickstarted my career, because I was given a 2-year one-way contract after that, which kind of just said, "Hey, you're the backup," and got me into that role to play from there. And then, sorry, this is a long story. So kind of worked my way up to starter through Edmonton. And again, everything is kind of going as it should, playing more and more each year. Got a nice 2-year deal to be the starter. And then, going into after the shortened lockout season, I had probably my best career year up into that point. And they changed management, and Craig McTavish came in, and they fired Ralph Kruger, and everything kind of got flipped on its head. And it was pretty obvious that I was not Mac T's guy from the get-go. His joke that he tried to trade for anybody that could put on a pair of pads. He might have called you guys at some point. I'm not sure. But it was anybody but me at that point. And then he couldn't get anybody, so it was damage control. But I think damage was already done at that point. And going into that season, obviously there was the pressures of that. And I didn't do myself any favors with the way I played either. Didn't play very well. I knew obviously was on my way out, and things kind of fell off a cliff. And that season, started as a starting goalie in the NHL and finished in a 3-goalie rotation in Hamilton in the American League. So that's about as steep of a cliff as you could fall off. And that summer I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And I shouldn't say that because I knew what I wanted to do, but just kind of the way to go about it. And I decided to just not even dive into that season and try to decipher what happened. Just everything was going on the right track. So I wanted to just hit the reset button and continue what I was doing on that track, and got an opportunity in Arizona. They were the only team that offered me a contract. And it was great because it was familiar faces there. I'd played against them lots being in Edmonton. They knew me as a person, as a player. So that pressure, that side of it, kind of didn't feel like I had to go there and prove myself to anybody, or they knew who I was. And so that was nice to just be able to go play there. And then the opposite of an Edmonton market is Arizona, where nobody outside of 10 feet of the rink really cares what's happening. So that pressure was off and I could just go play. And I kind of just wanted to approach it as I just wanted to be grateful to be back in the NHL and be an NHL goalie. And I kind of accepted to a point that maybe my window to be a starting goalie had passed. I was 28 years old. Whether that was fair or not, that's the business. And so I wanted to just be okay with being an NHL goalie in whatever capacity that was, and just work as hard as I could to be in the league and enjoy being in the league and enjoy every time I got a chance to play. And so I kind of took that mentality, especially with having Mike Smith as my partner, who usually played 65 games a year. I had no idea how many games I was going to play. So I just wanted to enjoy the times I got in there, and fortunately started to play better, and then got an opportunity with the trade to Minnesota. And that was kind of the perfect mindset going into that trade with Minnesota. Was I had no expectations. To me, it was just, I didn't know what their expectations of me were. It was just, to me, it was bonus time. It was opportunities to play games that I wasn't going to be presented with in Arizona. There wasn't a long-term thing there in Arizona. And so I didn't think about my next contract. I didn't think about the fact that we had a 2% chance of making the playoffs. I was traded to a good hockey team that was underperforming and was given a chance to play games. So it was just every game I was happy to go in there and play. And then the ball started rolling. I didn't realize it was going to be 38 in a row. And that, kind of changed my entire career. I got a 6-year contract after that. And I'm living in Minnesota with 3 kids now.
That's funny. It's in Arizona. Was that really sort of the turning point for you to get to Minnesota? Because you link up with Sean Burke, who I imagine, like you're talking about this mentorship program you have now. Was Sean sort of that mentor for you? And was Mike Smith even a bit of that? Like, did you guys lean on each other? Was he a resource as well?
Yeah, Smitty was a great guy. He was a good friend of mine, and he was an awesome partner, and so that was good. There was quite a few guys. It was actually, again, it kind of goes back to that comfortable feeling going in there, as I knew a lot of the guys on the team from both playing against them summer, skating in the summer. During the lockout season, I'd gone to Arizona a couple times. There was a bunch of NHL guys going in there to skate, because obviously it's not a bad place to be. And so I knew a lot of the guys, and that familiarity was there. I'd played world championships with Smitty, and so he was a great partner. And then, yeah, Sean Burke, he helped me a ton in a very short period of time. And it's a combination of things with Berkey. He kind of gives you this confidence without saying anything. It wasn't like he's not sitting you down and telling you you're the greatest and pumping you up. And he didn't need to. I knew he believed in me, and he was just a guy that if you went out and put in the work ethic, listened and tried to do what he was asking you to do, that he was going to have your back all the time. And that was just kind of this thing that came with him without, it's hard to explain because he wasn't saying anything extra or doing anything. There was just this confidence that he gave me that really went a long way. And then as far as like the technical on ice stuff, he really shaped kind of my game for the rest of my career. I moved a lot more before, and he said, you need to have your feet set. And that's really Berkey's whole thing with all the goalies is you need to be set on your feet. So you need to push stop. When that shot comes, you need to be set. Now, when that comes to the depth in your crease, that's up to the goalie, because all goalies are different skaters and they have different abilities and where they're comfortable. So he never said you got to play deeper or you got to play on your goal line. It was, you can play wherever you want, but you have to be able to beat the play on your feet and have your feet set when the shot's coming. And so that obviously then decides where you are able to be in your crease. If the play is further out, you can be a little further out. As it gets closer, you have to be deeper because you have to beat it on your feet. Obviously, we're not talking about in tight backdoor stuff, but and so we just hammered on that every single day. The drills were very basic. It was push, stop, take a shot, push, stop, take a shot, push, stop, set. Everything was, and we just over and over and over again, learning to push to get my feet set. And then that allowed me to just feel comfortable with what was going on in front of me, knowing I could beat passes on my feet and get there. And I didn't have to cheat or worry about going early. I knew where I was, that if that play went over there, I could get there. And then being set on plays, then it frees you up to stop the puck. If you're moving a lot, some guys can do it. I wasn't one of them. If you're moving a lot, it usually locks in your arms. They come in, they go out. It's not a good combination. And I remember one game we played Washington. We won 6-3. This was early on, and I felt good about myself. We just beat Ovi in Washington, and Burke called me in the next day and sat me in front of the laptop, and we just watched the video. He didn't really say much, and then he just paused at the end, and he just said, "This is going to stop now." And I was kind of like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "This is lazy. You're not set." Like he like ripped on me, and like not like it was almost. I guess it kind of felt like my dad was giving me crap, but he was like, this stops now. We're not playing like this. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. We're not doing this. And I was like, okay, we're not doing this. and kind of from there, we started just chipping away at it. And I think it just really teed me up. I felt more comfortable with it, to the point when I got that trade to Minnesota. I was in a great spot, both mentally and with my game on the ice, to go. And again, like I mentioned with Minnesota, this is a really good hockey team that was playing so far below their ability that it was kind of that perfect opportunity too. It wasn't like I wasn't going to a hockey team to turn them into a great hockey team. This is a really good hockey team that was just playing poorly, and the goalies were struggling. And so I just had to go in there and be good. And I went in there and was great, but I didn't, at the start, I wasn't like, I didn't go in there and blow the lid off anything. I was just solid. And that's really kind of what they needed to get their feet going. And then all the momentum, we started rolling and playing to the potential as a group that we were as a team, which was a really good team. And so that was kind of the perfect scenario there as well. And Burke had got me kind of ready for that opportunity.
Excellent. You talk about being in a good mental space there. It really does feel like with goaltending, the mental side is so big versus if you're a skater, if you're a forward or a defenseman. Do you agree with that? Is the mental side that much more important when you're a netminder?
Absolutely. And it's not, I mean, when we talk about mental side, I don't think of it as sitting cross-legged, like with your eyes closed. Like it's because there's unique things about goaltending. The obvious one is that, we can't make mistakes. Our mistakes are go on the scoreboard. And so a player, if they're struggling a little bit, they can go on the ice, and obviously you can't make like glaring mistakes over and over, but they can screw up, or they can go out and not feel as sharp and probably not even be noticed. Maybe they won't be as effective, but you could have a player not be as sharp and go out in a game and maybe just not like contribute, but it's not a nightmare. You get a goalie that's not sharp and is off, and you go out and it's bad. And then the other side of it is it's the only position in sports that's purely reactionary. We get compared to pitchers and quarterbacks and all that stuff, and it's not really the same, because those positions can go out there and make something happen. We can't make anything happen. You can't go get a 50 save shutout if you only get 10 shots. You can only do what comes to you, and you have to accept that. It's harder to accept when you are struggling a little bit, because you want to make the saves. You want to go out there. If you have a bad game, you want to go out there and win a game for your team, but you can't do more than what comes to you. So you have to be able to relax and let it come to you and not force it, and you get on your toes and you get tight because you just want the guys to shoot so bad. Like, give me the puck, I want to stop it. And that's a terrible mindset to have, because it doesn't work, because then you're over aggressive, and so you have to be able to relax and let everything come to you and react. If it hits a shin pad, if it hits 2 shin pads, if there's, all of these things that happen in front of you are completely out of your control. And so you have to be able to get that mindset. And that's kind of that mental side, to have that mindset and relax and let everything come to you, and not try to go force it, and not try to make something happen, because goalies can't make anything happen.
Is there a guy in the NHL right now that you kind of admire for that ability to, really balance the highs and lows and, stay calm and consistent?
I mean, there's lots of guys I admire in the NHL. I think that goalies are just unbelievable nowadays. I guess everybody says that about players and stuff too, but really, I mean, this talent level of goalies is just crazy. But I've always been a huge fan of Bobrovsky. And to me, watching what he's done now is like, whatever, I don't know him well personally, but even back like his Columbus days when I played against him, just like, I was always in awe of his ability. When he was on, it was like, this guy is a freak.
Just from a technical side, just like
technical, like he had everything. He was technical, so he wasn't, he's not all over the place if he doesn't need to be. He could make stuff look easy. He could also like do anything with his body if he needed to. He could do the splits. He could do a backflip if he wanted to. So his skating was unbelievable, but he didn't always use it. He'd make stuff look easy if he needed to. His power, like his strength and his power, like in his movements, from his posts and everything. Like when he was on, I'm like, this guy, you're not going to score on him. You're not going to beat him with a shot. You're not going to, like, the only way you're going to score on him is if it goes off a shin pad or off someone's face. And but then when you watched him, like in his Columbus days, there was a lot of this. And so when he was on, he'd have a 970, and then for whatever reason it would go away, and it was like, where's this guy? Like, it's there. And then and then he goes to Florida, and people didn't like the signing at first and whatever, but I'm like, the guy's worth the money. Like, it's there. And anytime you go to a new team like that, new contract, there's pressures. Obviously, it started off a little slow for him, and now it's just fun to see, because it's like, look out. I mean, honestly, look out, because I was covering Edmonton this year, so obviously I was biased. I was cheering for the Oilers. I wanted them to get it done, and look out for Bobrovsky, because he got to the Cup Finals. He learned how to get through playoffs to the end. Now he gets back the next year and he gets it done. What's stopping him now? He's got to the finals and lost. He's got to the finals and won twice. He knows now. He knows whatever it is that he needs to do mentally to be consistent, to shake off goals, to shake off games, whatever it is. You can watch him throughout the playoffs. It doesn't seem to matter period to period, game to game. He stays, even if he's off a little bit one game, or he lets in a couple goals that maybe he wouldn't normally. There's not this like big up and down. He gets right back to it. I look at game 2 in Edmonton. It was 3-2. That was a game in the finals that was like, we had an entire hockey game in the first 11 minutes. It was 3-2 with like 18 power plays and fights, and I'm like, this is a whole game in 11 minutes. Yeah. And it was 3-2 after the first period for the Oilers. It could have been 9-2. Like, and they ended up coming back and winning the game, and that's that just like mental stability of his. And obviously, you have to experience it to get there, to learn it. You have to go through it, and now he's done it all. He's got there, not one, got there and won twice, and it's look out, because it's when he's going, he is the best there is.
Yeah, on the flip side to that, you mentioned Edmonton and Stuart Skinner. Like, when he's on, and when he's off, it's, they're already looking for the backup there. What'd you make of, that the highs and lows of Stuart Skinner? Are you surprised that Edmonton, didn't maybe bolster their goaltending this offseason?
A little bit, but it's a tricky situation. So he's dealing with pressures that nobody else gets to deal with, right? Bob, now I'm not comparing Skinner to Bob. I think he'd say that's fair too. I love Skinner, so I don't want to. I'm not sure of him, but not the same league right now. And Bob can go have a bad game, and nobody's gonna. Maybe when he gets to Cup Finals, it's going to be a little more magnified. But for the most part, nobody's calling for his head. Nobody's calling for him for the backup to play, regardless of he could do anything, and he's earned that. But he can go do anything, and in Edmonton. Because of the past, because of what the way things have gone, the last 2 years is they're very, very quick to be like, get him out of there, get him out of there, get him out of there, and lay blame on him. And it's part of the territory that you deal with playing in a Canadian market. And I think he's done a really, really impressive job of handling it. Because I look at this year and the season before, very different. Similar things happened in the playoffs. Obviously, Pickard came in, but in the previous season, it was a little more like they gave him a breather. Pickard came in, did a job, but didn't do anything crazy. But the whole plan was to have Skinner come back in, and he did, and then he played exceptional. And they went all the way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. One win away from the Stanley Cup, so can't complain too much.
No.
And then this year was different, though. To me, this year was a lot more impressive because obviously the first 2 games were not good. But if you look at those first 2 games, that was not the same team, the Edmonton team, that played the rest of the playoffs. They were awful in those first 2 games. I mean, just there wasn't like a ton of shots, but the scoring chances, the grade A's, the just seam passes, wide open guys walking in, like it wasn't playoff hockey. And then he didn't play well on top of that to help himself out. And then Pickard comes in, he becomes folklore hero, right? Backup comes in, everybody loves Picks for good reason. He works his butt off, good teammate. He kind of goes in there and battles, and he brings the boys back to life. Guy's 6-0. He's a local hero, and he hurts himself. Now, this is an impossible situation for Skinner to come into, because now it's not like it's different than the year before where he kind of came in and like took his net back because that was the plan. Like now they're rolling 6-0. It comes in, and the Vegas game happens. Like the worst possible scenario that you could imagine, that they lose with whatever it was, 0.4 seconds left on that crazy goal. And so he comes in and he gets their first loss. You know how easy it would be to fold the tent there? Like the amount of pressure going on him into the next game, and he goes and he posts back-to-back shutouts. Like that is an impressive feat, because that was such an impossible scenario to come in with Pickard being this local hero at 6-0, and he comes in and he does incredibly well, and he takes them all the way to the Cup Finals again. Now, of course, there's a lot of things that he needs to find that consistency, and that's just the way it is. And you can watch his game, you can see the difference. I could see at the start of games and during games when he was on and when he was off, and so that's going to be up to him to figure out how to find that consistency, because when he is there, he's solid, he's in position, he moves well, he's conservative, he's a big boy. He doesn't have the skating ability of some guys, but he doesn't need to. But when he gets running around a little bit, it doesn't help him. So he needs to find that, whatever that is, to get that level of consistency, because when it's there, it's there. And I think that the thing that people need to take a breath and take a step back, which is hard to do when your team has been 2 years in a row almost winning the Stanley Cup, was 2 years in a row almost winning the Stanley Cup. So
right.
I know almost doesn't count, but he got there twice, 1 win away, 2 wins away, and he's 26 years old. So I think we forget that he is a young goalie. I mean, all of this stuff I just told you about in Minnesota, I was 28 years old. Skinner's got more playoff experience than 3/4 of the league's ever going to have already.
You were Vezina finalist at 29, right?
Yeah, and exactly. And you forget, because it feels like he's been here for a long time, because he kind of got thrust into the role when Jack Campbell didn't work out, and that wasn't really the plan for him. But he was younger than planned on, so it feels like Skinner's been around for a long time. He's 26 years old. He should be entering the peak years of his career right now. And a guy, again, who's got more experience than most of the league's ever going to have, is still has all of these years in front of him. And so do you panic and just dump him? I don't think so. And then also is what are you getting in return? You don't want to just make a trade to make a trade. And that was kind of the tricky spot I think that the Oilers were in, is if you're going to go get somebody significant who's going to be a start, who you know is a starter, who you know is a guy that you think is an upgrade, go try to make a splash on a Jeremy Swayman or somebody like that. That was I didn't love thinking about John Gibson. I didn't think that was the move, but something like that, you were probably going to have to give Skinner up going back. So if you're going to do something like that, it had to be significant. You had to get a guy that was going to be your guy, because if you got a guy that was gone in 2 years, now you could have had Skinner at 28. Now you have nobody. So there was that option, which there wasn't really anything available to do that. And then if you're going to go get a second goalie, a backup goalie to replace Pickard, well, that's tricky too, because it has to be somebody who's significantly better, who's almost on par with Skinner, that's going to be an option to take over. Because you don't just go replace Pickard to replace Pickard, because what's the guy done for you? He's a great teammate. The guys love him. They play hard in front of him. He was 7-1 in the playoffs as a backup goalie to the Stanley Cup final. What else are you going to ask of your backup goalie? There's not a goalie on the planet that's going to give you 7-1 in the playoffs. So are you just going to go replace him just for something to do because that's what people are talking about? You can't. So I think for Oilers fans, as frustrating as it was, because they wanted to see something happening with the goaltending, that's kind of what you have to take a step back and look at, is that you don't want to rush into making a decision just to make a decision. You gotta lay it out. And I do think that they'll do something kind of in that upgrading the second goalie. I hate saying that because I love Picks and I love everything he's done, and he's well liked. And so if that's the case, I hope he goes somewhere that he can play. But I think maybe training camp, waivers, whatever that is, I wouldn't be surprised early on in the season to see Edmonton try to get somebody who could push Skinner almost at the same level where one of them needs to take a step to grab that role.
Right on. Before we get to rapid fire, I wanted to ask you a couple of quick questions about puck handling, because I'm writing something for the magazine about this. To begin with, how much time did you spend working on puck handling as you were coming up as a goaltender, and even when you were in the NHL?
Not as much as I should have. But no, I did a lot. So interesting that I'm a right-handed shot, was growing up. So I shoot right-handed. So when I decided to be a goalie, my dad made me shoot pucks left-handed every day. So I had to shoot, I don't remember what it was, 50 or 100 pucks. We had a little shooting spot in our garage. So started with, he just gave me a player stick. And so I just had to go shoot left-handed over and over and over again, just to figure, because you guys know what it's like to pick up a hockey stick in the wrong hand. It's like you're gonna golf, you're like, what is this? So he made me go over and over and over again just to learn how to do it. And then obviously switch to the goalie stick, because it's all completely different. The way you shoot, the lie of the goalie stick is a lot more upright compared to a player. So it's completely different. So then you move to the goalie stick. And then, it's something. So there's the two sides of it, right? There's the skill level of your ability to handle the puck and shoot the puck and make passes. But the biggest part of it is your ability so that the skating side of it, and then the game read side of it. So it's your skating ability to be able to go get the puck behind the net. And while doing that, being able to see what's happening up ice. Can't go back with your face back or head facing the glass and not know what's going on. The best puck handling goalies, you can see them go out there. They're able to get a read on the play, how it's developing. Whatever their ability to skate behind the net and get it, they're able to go back. They're able to check while they're going, or they're able to get back there really quick and rotate to see what's going on up ice, and then being able to process what's happening in front of them and make the play. So it's that combination of the skating to get there, the ability to read the game, and then the skill level puck handling wise to execute whatever play they want. Because you get behind the net and you kind of get all jammed up, and you're not going to be able to make a pass to your winger if you want to bypass a guy if the forechecker goes to your D in the corner. If you're sitting there like this, and you didn't get your body turned, and you're not in a position to make that play. So it's just repetition over and over, and then keeping it in check on what's your ability. If you're don't try to go above and beyond what your puck handling ability is, because you can still be, I consider myself a decent puck handler, just because I just wanted to get the puck to my defenseman. I didn't want to do anything myself, because again, being a right-handed shot, my ability wasn't great as far as like shooting or getting it, off the glass, way off the glass and out, or like on a PK, shooting it all the way down the ice. Like I wasn't shooting it down the ice on a PK. And I knew that, so I didn't try that. But just figuring out with your D and just being able to move the puck to an open guy, do it quick. Don't hang on to the puck. Like just keep it moving, make it easy for your defenseman. And then whatever your ability, skill level wise, to add to that, you can do it. But you don't have to be the greatest puck handler skill wise in the world to be a great puck handler as a goalie.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that.
All right. Listen up, fans. The Big Show is presented by Sticks.com. Why break the bank on hockey sticks when you can get a pro level composite stick without the pro price tag over at Sticks.com? That's STIX.com. Head over right now and gear up. And with that, we go to Ryan's favorite part of the show. This is Rapid Fire, and this is our goalie edition of Rapid Fire. So let's start us off. Ryan, you can chime in as well, because I think a lot of these, Devan can't just have all the fun here. All right, so let's start us off. Devan, which goalie do you want in a do or die Game 7?
Oh, okay. Well, we just talked about him. Before, it was the obvious was Vasilevsky. Before, because he'd done it over and over again. And but I'm going Bobrovsky all day now, because he's done it. And that Game 7, that experience is that combination of ability with experience. And Vasilevsky was always the guy. Not saying he's a bad choice whatsoever. He'd still be a great guy, but he's kind of that guy who had been in all these Game 7 situations and got it done over and over and over again with the Stanley Cups. Now you got Bob, who's been in all these situations and got it done. So I've already talked about Bob enough, but he's going to be my guy.
Yeah, I had the exact same sort of logic, where it's like, if you were doing it right now, Bobrovsky. I would have said Vasilevsky before. I am interested now that Vasilevsky hasn't played so much hockey, like, because he went to multiple finals in a row and he had a heavy workload. It'll be interesting to see what he does this year and in the playoffs, where he might have to face Bobrovsky again.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, everything's there with Vasi. Like he's still an unbelievable goaltender. I think they got to maybe manage the workload a little bit with him a little bit better. And I'm sure doesn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear that when I was playing. Like I was playing 65 to 70 games a year, and which was probably too much, but it wasn't for me. Like I wanted to play every game, and I think he's the exact same way. But I think that, and he's getting older too. He's definitely not old by any means, but I think managing that season workload a little bit might be something to look into.
Yeah. Am I crazy for saying Jordan Binnington? He won a Game 7 against the Bruins in the Stanley Cup, and then Four Nations, he was, the guy again.
Okay,
so.
Yeah, good guy, but I'm not putting him number one.
Yeah,
we're talking about ability and experience, and again, I'm not going to bash Binner, other than I would love to square off with him one time just to get it out of the way. But phenomenal goalie, and yes, gets it done. I mean, the Four Nations was incredible, and he got it done. Won a Stanley Cup, so he's a guy that would be, on a list, but he's not the guy.
Maybe we should have had a second question, like goalie you want to fight.
Well, we almost got there in San Jose during the COVID year there, but.
All right, let's go a little lighthearted here. I see you got a bunch of goalie masks behind you. I imagine they're your own. Favorite goalie mask, and this could be your own or just all time one that you've always admired.
Yeah, I'll go a couple. Okay, so I got one sitting here that I actually did 1 year of. This is just a straight replica of. This is the Billy Ranford.
Oh, nice.
Oilers one, and I always loved that. Just so clean. Looks amazing from far away. And so the 1 year I just did a straight Billy Ranford replica I don't know if you guys remember Freddie Brathwaite when he played for Calgary.
He's great,
he was my favorite goalie growing up. Although I couldn't emulate the way he played. Obviously, we're a little bit different stature. He's I think 5'9",
a little taller than Fred.
Yeah.
But I loved him. He was playing for Calgary when I became a goalie and youth, and I met him a couple times when I was a kid. And just the nicest guy in the world, made me love him even more. So. And on top of that, his mask when he was in Calgary was lights out. It was kind of just like a flame design. You have to look it up. I'm actually getting my kid's mask painted with Freddie Brathwaite's paint job from Calgary in our association colors. And then lastly, I'll go Felix Potvin. The cat was just unbelievable those years in Toronto. Same thing. I love that. Just kind of classic. Kept the same design, just tweaked it a little bit with a little bit colors and maybe some details. But like when you see that on somebody from far away and then you get up close, it's cool too, but it's just kind of an iconic, like you see that mask as Felix Potvin. It's it. So I actually got my oldest kid. I have two goalies now. My middle is starting goalie this year. My oldest, his first year was last year. I got his mask painted like Potvin's. But in our association colors, we have like North Stars colors, like the
nice
yellow and green. So looks pretty good. It turned out well.
Oh, that's fun.
How about you, Ryan? What do you like?
I got two, and I feel they're both classics, but from different eras. So first would be like Ed Belfour.
That was mine.
The Eagle, it's like Devan was saying, that's like iconic for me. And then because he's such a character, I had interviewed him a couple of times. Gary the Cobra Simmons back in the 70s that had the really old school mask with the cobra on it. I just thought that looked so cool.
Nice.
I also like the Mike Palmatier one, the old school. It was just like a giant leaf that covered the face.
Right.
Yeah.
Devan, favorite goalie of all time. I know you said Bobrovsky for current era. Is he your, did you have a guy that you grew up just idolizing, whether it was like Hasek or Patrick Waugh or someone like that?
So like I mentioned, Freddie Brathwaite was my favorite goalie. But as I got a little bit older, kind of into that junior stage, I really liked Luongo. He was kind of a guy that I started to watch and pick up things on things that I can do in the way I played. Obviously, he's a big, tall guy too. I think he's 6'4", and he was athletic. Like I was obviously a big guy, but I was pretty athletic for as tall as I was, and that's kind of like I looked at him. Obviously, easy thing to say, be like Luongo, but I looked at him as a guy that I could watch play and kind of take things from. And then the more I watched him, just became a big fan of watching him. And Curtis Joseph was another one too. When he was in Edmonton, being in Calgary at the time, Flames were not good at all, so they were never in the playoffs. So we always cheer for the Oilers when they were playing their series against Dallas. And Cujo had great style too. Cujo, there's another mask too. Cujo mask, legendary. One of the most entertaining goalies you could watch play. And when he went to Toronto, my brother's a diehard Leafs fan, and so I had to always cheer for Toronto. And fortunately, I got an extra reason to with Cujo going there.
Right. I'm going Dominator. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I think Hasek best of all time. Like Patrick Waugh is definitely in that conversation, but I just think when Hasek was at his peak, like he was unbeatable.
And he was fun to watch too. Like even in his later, career with Detroit. Like I love the mask. He is just so acrobatic too.
Yeah.
Devan, we got a couple more here. Who's going to win the Vezina this year?
I gotta go off the page here a little bit, right? I'm gonna go Jake Ottinger.
Okay.
Yeah.
The war's gone. He's freed from the shackles now.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have a coach that apparently hates him anymore. But I'm gonna go with Jake Ottinger.
Ryan, who's gonna win it here?
You know what? I'm gonna go Shesterkin because I think he's gonna need to be like peak Shesterkin in order for the Rangers to like reset. So I feel like they need him to be like basically MVP caliber, and I think he can do it.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to say Shesterkin too. So 2 for Shesterkin.
Yeah.
It brings up an interesting one, and we won't ask it here, but like, had Russia been at the Olympics, how do you choose between Vasi, Bob, and Shesterkin? That three-headed monster that's just on fire.
Vasi, Bob, there's this other goalie named Sorokin who's pretty good too.
Yeah.
they have
really
four guys that could be starting goalies on any of the
And
teams.
no centers.
Yeah.
All right, last question. This one's an odd one. Okay, Dustin Wolf, who was a finalist for the Calder, or Joseph Woll, who plays in Toronto and is probably gunning to be the number one this year. Who would you pick if you're starting a franchise right now? Two young goalies, Wolf or Woll?
I am going to go with Wolf. I think he changed his game a little bit this year, got a little more conservative in where he played his net, and it showed. Because his skating ability is out of this world, and I think he's gonna, that step he took this year, I think he's just gonna keep going up and up and up, and I think that's a guy that's going to be one to watch for sure.
Right.
I'm going Joseph Woll because you can't teach size.
All right, I'm going Wolf because Woll, his injury situations. Yeah, I wouldn't want to bank a franchise on a guy that's constantly, it seems like, getting hurt, and hopefully that he gets that all figured out. Listen, thank you, Devan, for joining the big show. This was a great episode. As always, that's Ryan Kennedy. I'm Michael Traikos. We thank Sticks.com, and we'll see you next week or at the rink. Thanks again.